we will take the play. I'm not going to be watching chat very closely in the interest of trying to be as fair and competitive as possible. Opponent has 1 Lier, 1 Hullbreaker Horror, and is playing Esper. I don't care about Spikefield Hazard, so we will keep. Lands and card draw spells is ideal. Unfortunately, no untapped land on turn 2 to foretell Behold the Multiverse. Normally I would try to take this pretty slow, but I think I'm actually going to be on the clock for like all 9 hours of this. Means I really can't afford to lose any games. Oh, okay, cool. Do I need more red sources? Yes. More so than I need blue sources. Triple red being important for Galvanic Iteration stuff. So if they counter our Behold the Multiverse, we get to resolve a Sorin. Opponent has 4 copies of Vanishing Verse, as one does. I would probably rather deny them mana off of Celestus. Yeah, I'll grab Teachings. Rather than resolve Behold the Multiverse. And then I could get card advantage from Sorin, but I've already got a Teachings of the Archaics, so I don't think that's super necessary. We're going to put a second threat into play, so that if they do immediately Vanishing Verse the Sorin, it accomplishes less. It also means that if they just jam Teferi here... do they have a Teferi? Yes, 2 Teferis. Then jamming Teferi is a little less strong. Because then they're not removing Sorin, and we like that. And also we're attacking Sorin, and we like that. Or rather, we're attacking Teferi. Don't worry, I'm going to wake up eventually. We'll get there. Opponent plays Celestus, and then presumably the opponent vanishing versus Sorin. That's fine. Yeah, let's go with Riverglide Pathway and Resolve Teachings. That's a lot of cards, and Resolve Behold. I think we probably want Horror. I probably don't want Fading Hope. Alright, Jwari Disruption's okay. We've drawn a lot of cards, but we're kind of out of most action now. Slight problem, but shan't be the end of the world. Opponent's card draw is 1 Lier, 4 Divide by 0, 2 Consider, sort of, with Lier, 2 Memory Deluge, 1 Discover the Formula. They have 1 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Duress, 1 Unexpected Conversion.
Announcement received.
Auto-tapper gets the opponent a little bit by not having them play with Celestus. Oh, okay, but they had something to play with Celestus, sure. Okay, so they have a Teferi in play. Vanishing Verse gets to cleanly remove a token. So we're up on cards, but behind on mana. Not actually super excited by this. Our position is questionable, but Unexpected Windfall was an absolutely stellar draw. Going to need to remember that we've already drawn 2 basics when it comes time to potentially fetch a... why can I never remember the name of Environmental Sciences from our sideboard? Alright. But we have a nifty mana advantage now, and we have a Spikefield Hazard, which we're going to try to hold for Hullbreaker Horror. Memory Deluge. I could divide by 0 that, but it costs a treasure, and I'm not really excited for that. Oh, no, you know what I could have done in response to that Memory Deluge was actually divide by 0 the Teferi. That was probably the right move. I wonder if that means the opponent was supposed to float mana and then activate Teferi, so that there wasn't the opening for me to do that. Interesting. Alright, Discover the Formula is pretty strong. Makes Galvanic Iteration into a good draw. Bum gets to loot a little bit. We can jam Hullbreaker Horror here and have the ability to bounce it back to our hand with a single treasure use. One Disdainful Stroke is the only hard answer to Discover the Formula they have if I were to try to jam that, though, and that's kind of appealing. That might be what we end up doing. Depends on what else the opponent does here. Teferi technically threatens to ultimate next turn, I guess, but I'm probably going to wind up Spikefield Hazarding it one way or the other. Key to the Archive, yes. Let's go ahead and play the Hullbreaker Horror now. I'm assuming they probably divide by 0 this, which I then... I could Jwari Disruption this, but I'm 1 mana short of really having that be a good idea. They're going to have 3 mana, and I'm tapped out, meaning if they just have a Vanishing Verse, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Okay, I guess I let this happen. And then I get to play an untapped land and jam Hullbreaker Horror. If they have another divide by 0, then I get to resolve Horror with Jwari Disruption and Spikefield Hazard up. Wonder if it was better to go for Discover the Formula there? No, because if they didn't have Divide, then Hullbreaker Horror was super powerful. I think that was still worth attempting. What am I supposed to bounce if I do resolve Horror? Because I feel like I'm supposed to Spikefield Hazard and bounce something immediately. Probably supposed to Spikefield Teferi to stop it from being at 7 and bounce the Key to the Archives to deny them the most amount of mana. Could Jwari Disruption the Teachings to stop them from drawing a bunch of cards. Leaves me with only the ability to ping the Teferi and bounce the Key. I don't like that very much. Yeah, I don't like that. So opponent gets to draw some cards. We ping the Teferi. Do I bounce the Teferi over bouncing the Key here? Yeah, I think I do. Because removing the loyalty on Teferi is also a big deal, and they both represent approximately the same amount of mana in play. The Key represents color fixing, but the Celestus already gives them that. Which means I should have Spikefield Hazarded the face, but I didn't think about that soon enough. We'll see how much 1 damage winds up mattering. Duress, huh? Okay, so they have the ability to remove the Jwari Disruption, unfortunately. So we cannot protect this Hullbreaker Horror. But we do have a lot of Discover the Formulas to resolve, and we reset the loyalty on Teferi. And you also have Removal Spell. Okay. And a Teferi. Alright. They're gonna have 6 mana, which means if they have a counter spell, I can't do anything about it. Still don't actually have good answers to Planeswalkers is the surprising thing. Best draw remains Galvanic Iteration. We would love to copy a bunch of Discover the Formulas. Opponent can't really do anything about that. Opponent does not have enough mana to flashback Memory Deluge. Although I guess they could make a land drop still, possibly. Or they could have gotten Time Warp off Key to the Archive. Okay, sure. And played Lier into Time Warp. Sure. And then had Duress. Alright. Yep. Well, sometimes Key hits Time Warp. What can you do, eh? What does that give them for card advantage? They get to rebuy Memory Deluge. I don't have an answer to Lier. It's their only Lier, so if I do kill it, they don't have any more, but having flashback to Time Warp, it's already accomplished its goal. Yup. Which also puts us at a spot where Teferi's going to be once again at 7 loyalty, meaning Does Teferi also draw a card? Yes. Meaning I can't take a turn just casting Discover the Formula. How many Divide by Zeros do we have in the graveyard? Just one? Just one. Okay. Okay. That looks like we cannot win. I should probably concede in the interest of possibly actually having time to play the other tournament. Annoyingly, having Discover the Formula means this is still a winnable game. I just need my opponent to not have more Divide by Zeros. That's what I can't really beat. It's possible I can't even beat one Divide by Zero, actually. Even if I draw another Divide by Zero. No, I guess if I draw an untapped land and Discover the Formula hits a Divide by Zero, I have a chance here. But we didn't draw an untapped land, so I guess that means I don't have a chance. I have to Divide by Zero to resolve my Discover the Formula at the bare minimum. No, I guess I just let Discover the Formula get countered and then Divide by Zero Teferi, huh? That's like, not get countered, but get Divide by Zeroed. I guess they could let Discover the Formula resolve and just try to protect Teferi. No, okay. They do divide, discover. And then we divide to fairy. And if they have another divide, we concede. Alright, Memory Deluge shouldn't be able to hit Divide here, unless they already had Divide in their hand anyway. Okay. Well, we get to keep playing then. We still have Discover the Formula, although the opponent has a lot more. We're in an odd spot here where the opponent does have to clock us before we find Galvanic Iteration, because if we just... Do I have mana? No, I'm 1 mana short of double Galvanic and Discover, so I can only Galvanic it once, but it's still pretty hard for the opponent to beat without drawing a Divide by Zero. Do I have any removal spells that hit Lier in the graveyard? No. I do have a lot of Divide by Zeros, though. Okay, Galvanic Iteration is stellar. So we get to do that, and we get to discover the formula, and then I probably lose because the opponent has enough card draw, especially with flashbacked Discover the Formula, to find a Divide by Zero here. We're kind of on plan Hope Day whiff on Divide by Zero, which I guess means maybe I should have waited to do this until the end of turn, but the idea of missing a land drop is kind of abhorrent. Yeah. They also found Hullbreaker Horror. That's a concern. With 4 mana and 1 Fading Hope, 1 Infernal Grasp. Okay, how many cards do you have that you want to cast right now, opponent? Because you have 4 mana. Some of those spells don't have targets other than their creatures. Okay, Memory Deluge, if it's just bouncing Galvanic, is not that scary. I actually do have enough mana to recast that Galvanic into Discover the Formula. Now, it's going to be the opponent with 1 billion mana and a Hullbreaker Horror in play. And they can bounce one of these Discover the Formulas by Vanishing Versing like their own Lier. I don't know that they necessarily care about that. So I resolve 1, Discover the Formula, which probably doesn't give us the tools to get out of this, but could hit, like, Land Drop, Galvanic Iteration, Epiphany? Oh, wow, they let us Discover the Formula resolve instead of Vanishing Versing the Lier. Alright. Unfortunately, no time walks. Got it. Alright, we're getting rid of Meathook Massacre then. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. There's like almost a chance if we had A-Alrund's Epiphany, but even then probably still not. If the opponent spends too much mana at sorcery speed here, then still difficult to imagine any way they mess up that much. Opponent's ability to do direct damage to finish us off with the last 6 points is pretty limited. I can do 1 Time Warp into Epiphany. Potentially I can do some kind of Vanishing Verse nonsense. Looks like some kind of Vanishing Verse nonsense is the name of the game. Which means I'm doing lots of Galvanics into Unexpected Windfalls. No, Vanishing Verse. Fading Hope. That's the card I'm actually meaning to talk about. Luckily for me, the opponent still doesn't have any creature lands. Alright. So Hullbreaker Horror. Galvanic Iteration. Opponent considers. Alright, that counts as 2 counter spells. It's kind of a problem. So we're going to have to do this while the consider is on the stack so that it isn't in the graveyard. Discover the formula, also likely to be a problem. So once again, we're going to do this on the stack while it's not in the graveyard. I can Vanishing Verse Lier here and still have lethal. Oh, not having mana advantages, not finding Unexpected Windfall early is tough. Let's see. 1, 2, 3 counter spells, and I have the ability to cast 2 more spells. That means I don't really have outs, I don't think. Yeah, they just had enough mana to counter every single thing I played, huh? I wonder if that means I wasn't supposed to wait until their turn. If I was supposed to deny them like 3 mana by doing it on my turn. Given that exactly 3 mana was the amount that they had left over, the answer to that is probably yes. They found it. Alright. Well, let's see if we can successfully dodge opponent hitting Time Warp off key. They board into 3 Go Blanks, 2 Duress, 2 Test of Talents, 1 Lier. No, not 1 Lier. But no more copies of Hullbreaker Horror than this. So we do board down to 1 Infernal Grasp, no Fading Hopes, no Meathook Massacres, no Sorins. Otherwise, we are happy. wonder if trying to go for the win with Hullbreaker Horror when I did was a mistake, and if I was just supposed to try to resolve Discover the Formula instead? The Teferi being at 7 loyalty and forcing me to Spikefield Hazard at the next turn no matter what means I don't think that was right. I think I kind of was pressured into jamming at that point. The duress just really was especially brutal. Into the time warp extra so. I suppose if I'd had a second spell that could have been Jwari Disruption, that would have gone much cleaner. With all the divide by zeros, yeah, that kind of leaves me in a position where it was just not necessarily the fact that they took a Jwari Disruption, but that they took all my castable spells on 2 mana. Alright, we'll take the play. This hand is... it has Unexpected Windfall, so we'll keep. But it is definitely light on card draw, and that's a big problem. Could foretell A-Alrund's Epiphany, but I think that's one of the things that I more want to discard to a go blank. Okay. I think I'm playing this Blightstep on red because Galvanic Windfall means I care about getting to double red. And I don't care about casting go blank early. I have all the time in the world to draw a black source for that. Oh, turn 3 Celestus again. Okay, no answer to that, but it does give me the ability to resolve a Windfall. Putting something in the graveyard now isn't free, so if I'd want to put A-Alrund's Epiphany in the graveyard because it's the least useful spell, I have to be mindful of the fact that I'm probably going to get go blanked and have it exiled. I think I'm okay with that though, because every other spell in this hand is better. Alright, we don't hate lands. That's something. 1 mana short of triple go blank. Although if my opponent tries to jam like a Teferi here, I can still double go blank. Put them down to 1 card in hand. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's Disdainful Stroke the Teferi. And let's double go blank. Opponent has to try to restock pretty quick. Admittedly, 1 go blank hurts us pretty bad here. I don't even know what I would keep. A land, I suppose? Opponent decides to get rid of key. Resolves to Fairy. Okay. Hive. Well, the Hive is annoying. But they're top decking, and we get to play Lier so that Celestus doesn't trigger, although they're empty-handed, so I guess triggering Celestus right now doesn't... Okay, not empty-handed, so triggering Celestus isn't great. So, I probably want to play Lier. Okay, we play our red source. have any 1-drops? No. We play our Lier. We get to flashback A-Alrund's Epiphany next turn, I guess. They can fire up Hive, but if they do that, they're leaving us with something good, either Windfall or Epiphany, or Windfall and go blank. They kind of have to answer the Lier. Hopefully this is just them firing up Hive, because I think I can beat that. Horror. Okay, do they have a 1-drop to go with it to bounce the Lier? They do. Okay.
So do you want to be the ushers of defeat again, as we were last time? Well, we have Berserksy playing against Chris Botelho.
I think they meant to mute that. Okay, well, I still don't actually have answers to this. So I'm just hoping the opponent doesn't draw anything. They get to downtick to Fairy to find another answer. They can fire up Hive to answer A-Alrund's Epiphany. They get to loot if they don't cast anything, but if they don't cast anything on our upkeep, we get to Galvanic Windfall before they loot? Probably before they loot. Do I like that line better than just trying to go for Epiphany? Yes, because they have a Horror. Alright, they have Hive. Presumably, I think that goes after Windfall, most likely. If they go after A-Alrund's Epiphany instead, I'm happy about that. But I don't think A-Alrund's Epiphany means anything to them here. It's basically just a land drop for me. Okay, sweet. A-Alrund's Epiphany is the card I did not care about. I do not want to block anything. I probably want a Galvanic Windfall in my upkeep before this Celestus trigger resolves. This probably isn't a land, which means I don't think this matters too much, but technically matters more than not at all. Worst case scenario, it's a divide by 0. I really can't beat divide by 0. Well, if it's divide by 0 and I hit Infernal Grasp, I can still kill the Horror. But they answer both of my Unexpected Windfalls, which would be a problem. Almost any other spell would be okay. Test of Talents isn't ideal, but it's only countering one of these, not both of them. Oh, they bounced the Lier. Okay. Oh, yeah, and that counters 2 of them. Okay, that's cute. No, that's good. Well, no, it counters one of them, but it removes the Lier and counters something. So I only have one blocker. Or, well, no blockers. I don't have 2 blockers necessary for Hive. And Spikefield and 2 non-cards are not anything relevant. There is no way in which I can get blockers for the Hive. Well, that's game. Alright. So what went wrong there? Like, the combination of basically... Am I... Okay, there we go. Hullbreaker Horror into exactly duress, mostly. They rebuilt after all of the Mind Rots really well. Kind of shockingly so. They had literally 1 turn, but they managed. I guess we also had, like, no follow-up was part of the problem. I played a Lier and did nothing. If I had, like, any card draw spell that was meaningful... I would say that that's an instance of losing to a lot of specific one-ofs in both games, but my opponent's deck is entirely one-ofs, so that's not actually that surprising. We will take the play. Yeah, I'll keep the hand. Galvanic Unexpected Windfall is a heck of a drug.
Announcement received.
Doop, doop, doop. I think we're just making land drops for a bit. Question is going to be what I do with this Unexpected Windfall. How many possible counterspells does the opponent have? 3 divided by 0. Opponent's basically running 3 of everything. Alrighty. Cursebound Witch, sure. They have 3 Deadly Disputes to sacrifice that to. We have some land drops, yes. I don't think Fading Hoping the Cursebound Witch is very meaningful. With a land drop, I guess it has to be an untapped black land drop. They can Deadly Dispute, sack Cursebound Witch, which, okay, so they had. So Fading Hope would have given me a Scry, which I guess would have put a land at the bottom. And that's about it. More Cursebound Witches, okay. And not worth Fading Hoping. Celestus instead of Unexpected Windfall, huh? Okay, I dig that. That gives us access to Galvanic Unexpected Windfall next turn. A plenty reasonable card draw. Opponent cast Consider again. Alright. Well, if we can just bide our time here, I'd say we're plenty happy with that. More tiny creatures.
Announcement
We
received.
remain happy with that. More tiny creatures. We remain happy with that. Okay. Well then, since the opponent is playing Divide by Zero in their deck, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to the kitty cat. And... okay. We will just do this while they are tapped out of Divide by Zero. I probably am going to draw enough cards that I can afford to throw away a land here. Lier is plenty good. Lots of land. Which is to say 1, which is totally plenty. And lots of tiny creatures, but plenty of life total. Still no land for the opponent. We will loot. Unexpected Windfall seems kind of absolutely excellent. So we'll get rid of Fading Hope, because it's the only card here I don't really want a huge amount. And then I guess we're probably just going to play like 30 Unexpected Windfalls. And that's probably good. That's usually what I want to be doing with my life. So we can Galvanic into one Unexpected Windfall. I think that's actually better than playing more Unexpected Windfalls than this. I don't really benefit from sacking treasures just to turn Galvanic Iteration into 2 extra cards. I mean, I guess I kind of do, but there's always going to be ways to draw cards. Well, I guess we need to draw lands. Oh no, we failed to draw lands. What do I do if I fail to draw lands? Alright, well, missing this land drop kinda sucks. So, I'm gonna play the Sorin and down ticket. Presumably the opponent's gonna have removal spells for that, honestly. So, maybe that's not, like, excellent. But we're only gonna discard 1 card to hand size this way. And then we get to Galvanic Discover the Formula. Also, having not found any time warps, we're kind of not doing anything at the moment. We also haven't found a board wipe, so I'm in a very strange spot of just not having anything to do. What happens if I get Divide by 0'd on one of the Discover the Formulas? I still resolve the other Discover the Formula. Okay, Sedgemoor, which also means they can't do anything about my Discover the Formulas. Alright, game. Take mercy on me. This is a lot of cards. Surely I get something. Meathook Massacre. That's good enough. Okay. Meathook Massacre for 2. Wipe the board, gain some life. Do I have any Divide by 0s? I have 1 Divide by 0. I think I don't want my opponent to have that additional treasure. Is this the one I mean to target? It's not really highlighting anything, is it? I think that's the one I want to target. Alright, let's get Mascot Exhibition for a win con. Opponent makes more creatures, opponent makes 1 treasure, we limit it to that. Opponent gets to draft a billion cards and make more treasure. We get to play a land drop and a Lier, and I guess maybe for Behold the Multiverse, although, well, probably this Behold the Multiverse. I probably don't actually care that strongly about using my mana to foretell anything. Yeah, let's just get rid of Spikefield and get rid of a Fading Hope. And turn it back to day, so I guess we get to loot. Cool. Untap land for next turn, huh? Alright, I'm willing to get rid of Infernal Grasp then. Still no time walks. Witch's Oven for the opponent. Cauldron Familiar for the opponent. Sure. Let's abrade that Witch's Oven before the Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, because I don't feel like enduring that. Still leaves us with Divide by 0, and Spikefield Hazard for the Cauldron Familiar, I suppose. I can't give a sorry, unfortunately. Sedgemoor Witch. Sure. Okay. I could divide by 0 Meathook Massacre, but I don't have to do that right now. Attack with Lier. If they block with both, I get to Spikefield the Cauldron Familiar. And then just kill the Sedgemoor. I can sack Cauldron Familiar to Deadly Dispute, but I'm still killing the Sedgemoor. And we just get to pass with a bunch of mana up. Gain a bunch of life while we're at it. Okay, seems good. And I could Galvanic Discover here. Keep trying to find an Epiphany. Probably what I should do, yes. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Alright, I don't want to lose any of my precious cards in my graveyard, so we're just going to bounce the Hive. You could choose to sack the Hive, I guess, is what's going on here. They sack Pest to do so. Okay. They get a treasure. Hive gets bounced. Sure. Land. Nah, don't need it. Got plenty of those already. Alright, we are going to Galvanic for less mana, and then we are going to discover the formula, and everything is going to cost no mana, and then the game is going to start absolutely chugging. That was 3-0. There we go. Hey, everything all at once. Wonderful. Then we will Galvanic. And we will Galvanic. Oh, come on game, you can do it. And then we're going to Epiphany 3 times. And that should be pretty close to lethal. Oh, I've already got Mascot Exhibition in my hand, apparently. Cool. Get to discard Jwari Disruption, Spikefield, Fading Hope, and I don't know what. Behold the Multiverse, doesn't really matter. Alright, land drop, Mascot Exhibition, Mascot Exhibition. That should be good enough. That's probably going to be lethal. I haven't done the math, but I think so. Yeah, alright. We even had an extra turn. I mean, that was mostly the opponent just missing land drops, unfortunately. Okay, so playing against blue-black control. Actually kind of interesting in how this stretches my ability to sideboard into a couple of different directions. Because post-board they pick up Test of Talents, Go Blank, Duress. Try to mid-range me out, while also having access to Divide by 0. Hullbreaker Horror, too. It really is kind of a weird challenge to board against. I don't think there's any point in boarding into Disdainful Strokes. I guess Malevolent Hermit is fine. Infernal Grasp is probably fine. I don't necessarily have any need for a Abrade. Okay, so no on the Abrade. 2 Sedgemoor Witch, 3 Shambling Ghast, 3 Lier, 3 Cursebound Witch. They drew like all the 1-drops that game, but I don't think that I'm supposed to board into Meathook Massacre. Not for the average game. I do think I'm probably supposed to play Go Blank against the 3 Lier deck. And they don't actually have a ton of answers to Sorin, so I think that stays in. Hullbreaker Horror has some answers, but it's probably still worth playing. Do I board out some number of Meathook Massacres against a deck that does have the potential to actually go wide? Huh. I don't actually hate Sorin against them, so I don't think I board it out as easily as I normally do against control decks. I don't like the idea of boarding down on A-Alrund's Epiphany, but I think every other card is actually good in this matchup. Maybe 3 Infernal Grasps is too many here. It probably is. I'm probably supposed to live on 2. Yeah, I think that was the actual correct cut. Well, this isn't a hand that does anything, but it has 4 lands, and I'm not willing to ship a hand with 4 lands. Hullbreaker Horror does not help. I should lean on Haunted Ridge in case I draw Infernal Grasp. There are some 3-drops, Sedgemoor Witch in particular, they can play that I would like to Infernal Grasp. But we draw Behold the Multiverse, which gives us a pretty good use of our mana on turn 2, thankfully. And you put him as a land drop. One of the weaknesses of running 25 lands plus cantrips. You can definitely just miss land drops. So I believe the only thing this can be is Behold the Multiverse. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't play that, but I would have divided it by 0. So it works out for them. I actually do have to Behold the Multiverse here. They get a chance to resolve it as well, but they've already missed the land drop for the turn. Oh, just a Deadly Dispute instead. Okay, so they draw 2, get 2 treasures, but having divide by 0 gives me a pretty clean answer to that already. I would like this Discover the Formula, but I think... no, I'm going to make land drops with Behold the Multiverse almost guaranteed, so we'll just take the 1 land drop and the Discover. The Discover is going to be very valuable eventually. Odds are pretty good that I'm just going to Iteration Behold. I don't think they do anything if they make this a land drop. Maybe they do. They might be pressured to play something to the board. So if I Galvanic Iteration and get it Test of Talents, if I had 1 more land, that would mean that I would be probably resolving Discover the Formula on my turn. Well, assuming the Galvanic Iteration gets Test of Talents, I do still get to play the Behold anyway. I could also just divide by 0 the Galvanic Iteration and get it in Environmental Sciences. That could also get countered. They can resolve Behold the Multiverse here, looking for a counterspell for Galvanic. If they just divide Galvanic, presumably getting Sciences. Okay. I don't love Beholding the Multiverse here. I'm going to discard a lot of cards to hand size, but making land drops is the only thing that matters. Well, don't think I need the Spikefield Hazard. Would prefer to find untapped lands. Could Galvanic go blank, put them down to 3 cards. I'm not comfortable with that. Could try to resolve Discover the Formula, but I'm going to discard a bunch of cards to hand size if I do that. So I think I'm probably just discarding Infernal Grasp plus Hullbreaker Horror. mean, Horror does get really good if I resolve a couple of Discover the Formulas. But I also feel like I sort of need Meathook. I probably don't need Meathook. This is an oddly non-perfect situation we find ourselves in. Because if my Discover the Formula gets Test of Talents, then I got problems. How do I handle that? I can't do nothing because I don't actually have a land drop? Maybe that meant I should have kept the Spikefield? I don't know. Okay. Discover doesn't get Test of Talents, so I should be pretty much fine. What then is the best next step? Casting 3 go blanks? I don't actually get to wipe their hand out, and they Behold the Multiverse after that. So I think in the interest of maximizing hand size, I'm just foretelling Behold the Multiverse and then choosing one thing to discard. Probably this 3-mana Divide by 0. I don't really want to put a card in hand with Divide by 0 right now. I could just loot away the expensive Divide, I guess. Try to hit a land drop that way. Alright, I'm kind of into that. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. Sedgemoor, which is fine. I don't mind them decreasing their hand size. Makes Go Blank better. Could Behold the Multiverse here. Don't think I want to. So could triple Go Blank and still have up Divide by 0. Opponent probably tries to sacrifice a bunch of stuff and cast a bunch of spells in response. Alternative is Galvanic Iteration, Discover the Formula at some point on our opponent's turn. I'm 1 mana short of Galvanic triple Discover the Formula. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to go for the Discover the Formula line. My opponent can't really tap out at end of turn here. Oh, maybe they can. Yeah, 1 drop. What else can I do? Do I let this resolve? Yeah, I don't think that I want to discard a ton of cards to this Discover the Formula off of hand size. I think that I'm going to let them untap before I try to go for it. Unless they tap out more here and give me the ability to resolve it without any counter spells happening. We take a wee bit of damage. That's manageable. Opponent foretells a card. Okay. We play Galvanic Iteration, see what happens. Play Discover the Formula, see what happens. Not easy for our opponent to answer both of these. Okay, that's one that isn't answered. Finds a Malevolent, finds a Meathook Massacre. Okay, well, let's start by emptying the hand. Somehow I still don't have a land drop, huh? Feels weird to say that I should Behold the Multiverse here, because that's not true, but almost. I also have a 4-mana Hullbreaker Horror if I just pass the turn. How good is that? I guess that's probably pretty good. And I have enough card draw that I can't just chew through their hand. Alright, I think I start with Unexpected Windfall, discarding probably Malevolent Hermit, which I believe I can flash back for 1 mana. I'm trying to hit an untapped land here. Perfect. We succeed. Okay. And then I can just play Hullbreaker Horror, and I have a lot of free spells, because currently every Galvanic and Unexpected, well, one of the Unexpecteds is a free spell. Fading Hope. Where are we? What phase? Combat? Fading Hope's kind of annoying. Alright. Hullbreaker Horror successfully Fading Hoped, I guess. I think I'm probably just going to Meathook Massacre for 2 here. We can solve the Hullbreaker Horror thing later. Okay, board cleared. How much have I decreased the hand size of myself? Not very much, unfortunately. Not willing to put more cards in the graveyard, because I still do have to worry about the opponent go blanking. So I have to actually pretend that the cards that I'm discarding are gone forever. Which I think means I'm discarding Infernal Grasp. Do not want opponent drawing more cards. Not right now. I also don't want to draw more cards right now. Alright, let's loot away Infernal Grasp. And then probably discard Jwari Disruption to hand size. Probably also getting rid of Unexpected Windfall, keeping an untapped land. Yeah, this is still a pretty good hand. And we're making our land drops. That's the best we can ask for. Lier, sure. Alrighty. Opponent has 1 Fading Hope, 1 Divide by 0. But this time, the Fading Hope is actually going away. Let's start. How many cards in hand? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, I guess we're probably just going to exile all of our opponent's everything then. We could divide by 0 this. It does get exiled, because it got flashbacked. They do not. Alright, another Galvanic. And 1 final Galvanic so that the opponent can't even divide by 0. So we're going to wind up with 4 copies of Go Blank cast. That will be everything gone. Opponent cast Consider. I believe that only winds up putting enough cards in hand that they still have to discard everything. I guess they could like hit a sacrifice a Lier, make a treasure. Which I think, no, because I'm making 4 copies of go blank, not 3. So that still doesn't get them up to enough cards in hand to keep something. I think Fading Hoping Lier still doesn't do it. They could top deck something. Top decking some card draw spell with a Lier in play is still meaningful. They kind of get one turn to do the top decking, but... I mean, despite that, I still have a 4-mana Hullbreaker Horror and a 1-mana Behold the Multiverse. Okay, well. That's the ball game then. We're just gonna play the Hullbreaker Horror. Go blank the opponent. Return the Lier to their hand. Yeah, okay. Ooh, 22 lands? Is that true? Okay, Skyclave Cleric's a double-faced card, so 24? I guess with Prosperous Innkeeper, maybe? Well, Skyclave Cleric's a cool way to make the land count for Inquisitor Captain better. Well, can we keep this? This is actually pretty close to a keep. I mean, it's a terrible keep, but it is kind of close to a keep. I hate spending mana on Behold the Multiverse here, and I'm on the draw, which means I'm going to discard cards to hand size if I do that. Nah, it's fine. We'll just hit an untapped land and then Fading Hope. And then our hand size is irrelevant. It'll probably be fine. Maybe. 1 drop for the opponent. We draw a Fading Hope. Not quite the way I pictured that going.
Announcement received.
I also need to draw a blue source if I want to Behold the Multiverse and Fading Hope on the same turn. That's kind of awkward. Prosperous Innkeeper. Okay, well, gonna have to dodge Inquisitor Captain. But we drew an untapped blue source. That's good stuff. 34 creatures. Inquisitor Captain needs how many? 20. Okay, so they have plenty. They have 30 creatures. They need like 10 in play or in exile. And that's not gonna happen. Oh, wait, no. They need 8. Because of Aura is also 4 mana. Okay, well. We are drawing cards that are good. I would say this has gone mostly ideally so far. Still would like to find Hullbreaker Horror and Ramp. Ideally. Alright, let's put Trelasara back in their hand. I don't know if this timing matters at all. Sorin. So if I bounce Aura and then downtick Sorin, is that what I want to do? I think that's actually decent. I think I'm... Yeah, so then I'm not casting Behold the Multiverse, I'm just Fading Hoping Aura. And hoping that this is a decent blockery setup. Opponent currently doesn't have black mana for Aura, and is really flooded on white mana. Skyclave Clerics. Oh, there's an Inquisitor Captain. Okay, that could be a problem. Means that they're down 4 creatures currently, 5 creatures. Spikefield Hazard answers Allenbach Escort if I wind up wanting to try to kill Voice of the Blessed. Okay. Yeah, I'll reveal Divide by 0. That's a card that does things. I need to make a land drop, so I've got to choose whether I want to try to Behold the Multiverse for the land drop, or play Spikefield Hazard. Could Galvanic Iteration Behold the Multiverse here. don't... I mean, Spikefield Hazarding the Prosperous Innkeeper to keep the Voice of the Blessed off of the air could be important. Am I supposed to Galvanic this Behold? I think I'm... Probably not? I don't think so. Abrade is good if I hit an untapped red source to hit the Voice of the Blessed. I don't think I can take the risk that I miss on this land. And I did miss on this land anyway. So that's concerning. Deeply concerning. I could foretell A-Alrund's Epiphany to try to set up blockers on future turns. 2 chump blockers is a pretty big deal. I don't think so, though. So being forced to play the Spikefield Hazard means that I can't kill the Voice of the Blessed, and it's going to grow too much for me to Meathook Massacre. There might be a world in which I Infernal Grasp the Inquisitor Captain and chump block the Voice of the Blessed to keep my Sorin alive? Is that what I want to do? Is that what I want to attempt to do? No. Because I can actually Infernal Grasp the Prosperous Innkeeper, so if my opponent doesn't have the right setup to gain life, I might be able to clear the board with Meathook Massacre. I think that's actually what I'm doing. I'm going to try to set up a clear the board with Meathook Massacre. Really hoping they can't gain life here. And then also really hoping we draw a... the third... Wait. The opponent does not have the correct deck list, because they've only got 2 Skyclave Clerics registered. I don't know how to feel about that. And we hit a tap land. Well, I can still Meathook and then divide by 0 the Voice of the Blessed later. I should probably say something about the deck list being wrong. I don't, like... Set them a message about it. There might be something I'm missing that is like one of these is something else, or it got copied by some arena mechanic. That I'm missing? I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference this game, but yeah, I'm worried about what else might be different that I don't know about. Alright, well we hit the land last turn, which means I get to play Lier. Oh, I can't play Lier in Bound's Voice, I'm still short of blue. What am I discarding to Galvanic here? Is it A-Alrund's Epiphany? I think it's probably A-Alrund's Epiphany. I can flash that back with Lier later. I can probably take the damage from Voice of the Blessed. And not need to divide by 0 at this turn. And now I've got enough blue sources that I can Lier bounce stuff later. I believe I'm pretty happy to Spikefield Hazard the Lunarch Veteran. Opponent does finally get to play that Aura. Okay, well, Hullbreaker Horror seals up the game pretty hard. Okay. Hopefully, they let me know what was different. Might be something as simple as there's one less land and a Skyclave Cleric, and then it's not a huge deal. I mean, it is, but I don't want to make it a huge deal. How many humans does this have? Cleric? So, Wizard Captain, Lunarch Veteran, Prosperous Innkeeper is not, Righteous Valkyrie is not, Voice of the Blessed is not, Cleric of Lifespawn is not, Trelasara is not, Spellbinder is, Escort is, Aura is not, Skyclave Cleric is. So I want Horror, one Infernal Grasp. Not excited about Meathook Massacre. I guess I'm kind of excited about Sorin. I'm not excited about Sorin. I have to worry about Go Blank, Vanishing Verse, Valorous Stance. I think that means I cut Abrade. Feel like Sorin's probably the card I'm most supposed to cut. Maybe it's A-Alrund's Epiphany. But I can't help but think taking 2 extra turns is probably one of the stronger things I can do here. An air purifier. Oh. I could run that when I'm not streaming, I suppose. I imagine the noise would probably be too much when I am streaming. There's only so many fan wars that I can have going all at once. Hey. It's got Infernal Grasp. If the Infernal Grasp was untapped, I might be able to keep this. I mean, I guess I'm on the draw. Maybe we just hit land drop, number 3, and it's untapped on turn 2. And this hand is okay. Infernal Grasp and divide by 0 to Behold is a plan. Lead on Shipwreck Marsh in case we find an unsummon. Prosperous Innkeeper's good. Untap land, untap land, untap land. Represent Jwari Disruption. Only good things? No. A tap land, which is concerning. Trelasara. Okay, so that starts growing. I would love to Infernal Grasp that before the life gain trigger went off. Okay, opponent also missing land. Okay. That sounds to me like there's a chance. So I hold up divide by 0. If the opponent plays a creature, I probably wind up Spikefield Hazarding the Prosperous Innkeeper, unless it's something impactful enough that it's worth divide by 0ing, and if that involves them spending a treasure. Is Prosperous Innkeeper impactful enough to be worth divide by 0ing? I think the answer to that is no, because Divide by Zero is still good against the second trigger. But I would like to Spikefield Hazard Prosperous Innkeeper, because I got a feeling that they have a Snakeskin Veil, and it looks like they do indeed have a Snakeskin Veil. Do I force them? No, I don't think I force them to use it with the Infernal Grasp here. Don't think that's what I want to do. Alright, more untapped lands is plenty nice. Don't have a lot to do with our mana if we divide by zero here, but if they try to play something too big, and we get to divide by zero it, then I could potentially Meathook Massacre, Shrink the Trellisara. Okay, Trellisara keeps getting bigger. We'll need more answers to that. I think this means the plan is probably to Behold the Multiverse. If they keep playing tiny creatures, I'm in probably some danger. I could divide by zero the Trellisara and then Infernal Grasp it. Well, yeah, that's pretty bad. I could just try to find more single target removal spells with Behold the Multiverse, or else, if I'm willing to take this Trellisara hit, and maybe I am, I can divide by zero and then Infernal Grasp it, which gets around one removal, or one Snakeskin Veil? That's the card I'm looking for. Unfortunately, I want both of those cards, but I can't afford them right now. Lands is not good. More lands is very terrible. Oh, game. Alright, well, what do they keep on top? Paladin class. Oh, cool. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Alright, bounce Trellisara. Snakeskin Veil. Infernal Grasp Trellisara. Alright, that resolved. Tiny success. Tiny. Opponent activates Paladin class, puts us to 1. Okay, then we get a Meathook Massacre for 2. And have enough land drops to last forever. Opponent gets to flashback Lunarch Veterans, which is a problem. If they hit an untapped land and flashback both, then no. Okay, well, luckily flashing back both would have killed me, but now it doesn't, and that makes me happy. If I discover the formula, I sideboard it out of Abrade. Does this get double strike? 5 mana, okay. Now let's discover the formula at sorcery speed. Oh, we hit good cards that are not removal spells. Lier is 4 mana. I'm at exactly enough life that I can't Infernal Grasp anything. I die with the life gain trigger from Meathook Massacre on the stack. Oh, goodness. They took the Lier. I think that was a mistake. I think they were supposed to take the Unexpected Windfall. I need to remove both of these. Does that mean that I want to keep Galvanic Iteration around to copy a potential removal spell? I don't know that I have a huge number of removal spells that work when I'm at 2 life. I guess there's Fading Hope. Keeping Galvanic Iteration around is probably better than drawing 1 extra card. Or 2 extra cards. Drawing 4 cards deep for a Fading Hope as an out. I think is better than drawing 6 card deep for 2 removal spells as an out. That's nothing. Yowzers, that's also nothing. Alright, well I can play 1 Unexpected Windfall, which draws into exactly Fading Hope, or I can Galvanic to draw 4 deep for 2 answers still. No, I think it's still Windfall. Just 1. Yeah, doesn't leave me with any outs. Wow. Jeez, deck. Really? Well, Meathook would have been in time. Wow. I'm shocked I lost that. That was some atrocious drawing. Sorin would have been good enough too. Yeah. I wonder if I need to bring in Parasitic Grasp. What for? I just don't have anything to bring it in for. I could cut Sorin for Parasitic Grasp. Do I think that improves anything? No. No, I don't. The way these games have gone have made Meathook Massacre look good, but that's only because the opponent hasn't drawn Righteous Valkyrie, and that tends to be the card that I have to be worried about the most. Alrighty, I'll take the play. This is definitely too good to throw away, but how do we sequence it? I think it's Jwari Disruption on turn 1, and then probably Spikefield Hazard on turn 2 as lands. Huh. Foretelling Behold the Multiverse is tempting. Real tempting. Helps me make a lot of land drops that I might not make otherwise, but no. I think I have to divide by 0 on turn 3. I don't think I can afford to foretell Behold the Multiverse and not have mana to divide on turn 3. But the opponent makes my life awkward. Alright, so no divide on turn 3. Okay, but we do still have Fading Hope, which I probably should have played at sorcery speed to play around Snakeskin Veil. Well, no, that's not true. Opponent can't really Snakeskin Veil with Thalia and play very meaningfully. They could just choose not to play a spell, but that seems bad. Prosperous Innkeeper. Okay. Then we will allow that to resolve. The only time this makes Snakeskin Veil matter is if they have an untapped land to go with it, and if they have an untapped land to go with it, then Fading Hoping the Thalia and letting them just immediately replay the Thalia isn't good either. Although I guess it's slightly worse. Okie dokie. Now we bounce the Thalia. Yeah, we will take a land. I guess it is slightly worse if they use the Snakeskin Veil to save the Thalia. They're down a card, but they're up one a +1/+1 counter. I don't know, maybe the +1/+1 counter doesn't really matter. Relative to them being down a Snakeskin Veil. I do believe I would like to Unexpected Windfall. What are we discarding? Probably a land? Probably a land. I mean, Behold the Multiverse isn't exciting against Thalia, but it does make cards draw, and that fits good. Lots of creatures. Will be a cool time to draw a Meathook Massacre, but that is not to be the case. Okay, can't really foretell Behold the Multiverse here. Need that mana to cast Divide by Zero without sacking a treasure. Best case scenario, opponent just activates Lier the Hydra. That'd be cool. Inquisitor Captain. That's gonna be a no from me this turn. All of these cards are pretty awkward with Thalia in play. Guess Mascot Exhibition's probably the best. We're really far away from casting it, but it does invalidate their board state. Well, up until the Inquisitor Captain hits a Righteous Valkyrie, and then that stops being the case very quickly. And we missed on the land drop. Couldn't have been kind enough to get us a Meathook Massacre deck? Oh, goodness, goodness, goodness. Where does that leave us? I'm wishing I could downtick a Sorin right about now. Okay. Well, if the opponent throws out an untap land, I'm in a lot of trouble. They wait on Inquisitor Captain. I think that means I let them resolve a post-combat Inquisitor Captain and just try to Behold the Multiverse, looking for a board wipe. I think that's just about my only out. I think they can restack that so the Inquisitor Captain trigger happens before all the Prosperous Innkeeper triggers. Luckily for us, we have 2 Behold the Multiverses with which to look for board wipes. Failing to find a board wipe, if we hit an untapped land, we have 3 blockers, block Spellbinder, Captain, Lier. I go to 1. Okay. Let's find Meathook. Infernal Grasp. Do you do anything? I think we're at too low life for that to matter. Alright, bottom. More Behold the Multiverses. Land Meathook. Cool. Alright, what are we doing then? What are we doing? Do I have any alternative to Mascot Exhibition? Please give me an alternative to Mascot Exhibition. If I Behold the Multiverse into Meathook, I can cast Meathook for 0. That doesn't seem good enough. Alright. I regret not boarding around this kind of board state with the 3rd Meathook, but again, that's... I'm just very lucky so far they haven't found a Righteous Valkyrie. So the Vanishing Verses, they don't have the ability to use. If they have Valorous Stance, I die. They animate Lier the Hydra for 1. Valorous Stance, the 4/4, swing with everything. Yep, they fire up the Lier. Blockety, blockety, blockety. Go to 1. Top deck Meathook. And then everything is fine. This will also be a great spot to draw Parasitic Grasp. Come on, deck. Do I even have that many Behold the Multiverses in my deck? That's every single one, huh? Alright, well, I can't Infernal Grasp. As cool as it would have been to Meathook, I think I lose here. I can Behold the Multiverse into what? Vanishing Verse? No, that's not good enough. Divide by 0 with a Thalia, get Expressive Iteration, or get Environmental Sciences, but I'm still 1 mana short on that. Just barely. Oh, which means top decking Divide would have been good enough, huh? What do I got? I think I got nothing. Spikefield Hazard, Valorous Stance, still nothing. More lands. More lands. Well, I guess that doesn't really matter. Ah, wow. So many draws in games 2 and 3 to just totally stabilize. And not there. Ugh.